This has to be a movement. If we want folks with aphasia to live a life beyond aphasia, we got to help them do it. It's not just going to hoping and praying doesn't do it.
Hi, and welcome everybody, and we hope you enjoy this podcast called On the Tip of My Tongue. Now, I'm Rob Edwards.
And I'm Jonathan Hirons.
And this podcast is a follow-up to a film which Jonathan made about aphasia. So, what is aphasia? Well, it's a condition caused by some kind of injury to the brain, which is often, could be a stroke, or could be just falling off a bike. And it affects your ability to use language in all its forms. Speaking, writing, reading, sending text, whatever. 350,000 people in the UK suffer from a debilitating condition called aphasia. Fewer than half this number suffer from Parkinson's, and yet most people have heard of Parkinson's, whilst almost nobody has heard of aphasia.
I'm Genevieve, and I have a passion for aphasia care partners. I've worked with families with aphasia for over 30 years, and I realize that there is a gap in the system. And that gap is that us professionals expect the carer, the caregiver, to take on all of this responsibility, but not give them the way forward and how to do it and how not to burn out. And what we do know from research is that the best aphasia recovery is when the carer is supported. When the carer knows what to do, then they can properly support the recovery of their loved one.
Thank you. And thank you for coming on the Tip of My Tongue podcast. It's great to have you here. Early in the morning for you, later in the afternoon for me. Let's talk a little bit about the differences between the US and the UK when it comes to help for people with aphasia. Now, in this country, it's a bit of a lottery, basically. Sometimes you get good help, sometimes you don't. What's the state in America? What's your take on it?
So most everyone will get help, but depending on their insurance level, because we have all different kinds of levels here as to what kind of help they get. And sometimes the difference is the advocacy of the care partner. I refer to them as care partners. I know you use in the UK carers. So just so that the audience knows we're talking about the same thing. When you can advocate and you can say, no, we need something different. We need something better. Sometimes it's possible to get something better, something more comprehensive.
I think it's very similar in the UK as we have basically free healthcare. However, people do pay. And to some people who have aphasia I know of that have paid privately. Most people will go into the state system. Now, over here, you might get a good deal, you might not. For example, where I am, I got 6 weeks of speech and language therapy because that's what you get. And I had to wait probably a month for that. Some people get nothing and some people get quite a lot, depending on where in the country they live. One of the problems is that not enough people know about aphasia and know enough about it to go forwards with it.
I would agree. And there's one thing to know about aphasia, and it's another thing to know how to support the person who has aphasia. It's another thing to live day to day with a person who has aphasia from the care partner perspective. But also for someone like yourself with aphasia, you had to figure out what was happening with your own communication.
Do you have groups in the US? What happens over here is most people get together. People with aphasia basically get together with a peer leader, and they will sort themselves out. Is that an experience that you've had?
We have a variety of options. So you have the rehab that insurance pays for. And then when you're discharged from that system, we do have online groups, telepractice, Zoom. Since COVID has become a very big thing, and most everybody, if they have access to the technology, can get on it. So there are many online, and then there's There are in-person aphasia groups as well, but with it being such a big country, it's a little harder to get all those same kind of resources everywhere. Then there's programs, there's day treatment programs, there's intensive programs. There's what I do, which is a private practice. So we do have a variety of options, but not everybody realizes they need to sort those things out, as you put it.
Yeah.
Sometimes they just get discharged from rehab and they go home and sit on the couch and don't know that there's another option.
Yeah. And I think that's where the groups come in. There's quite a lot of groups around the country, obviously smaller country and all that, but we still have distances. So therefore, it may take an hour and a half to get to a group. Mm-hmm. It isn't a group in every city. There isn't a group in every town. There's a charity called Say Aphasia who are trying to do that. And they've got 30 or 40 groups, I think.
That's amazing.
Which is virtually from nothing. And they're adding them every 2 or 3 months, I think. There's somewhere in different parts of the country, which is good, obviously. And therefore, that will help more people know that something's going on.
Absolutely. There are a couple of amazing nonprofits that provide ongoing support and conversation groups. There's some of us that are on YouTube giving education. Some do actual speech therapy. Others of us are doing education and trying to meet people where they are and give them information so that they don't feel so alone.
So let's talk about your work. You're about spreading the word, I would say, and giving people opportunities to get help. Correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. Both from the aphasia perspective, the person with aphasia, but my biggest passion right now is working with the care partners.
Right.
Helping them find that way forward so that they can support it because it's this whole system. It needs to be. It can't just be all focused on the one person because the caregiver needs support and help and training. And the decoder ring, as I think of it, because every aphasia is different. You really have to understand your person's aphasia and how to work with and within that.
Yours is quite what should I call it? No, I can't think of the word. It's gone.
On the tip of your tongue, perhaps?
It certainly is. There's a podcast like that.
Yes.
This is
Understood.
edited. This is edited.
I love it.
That's it. Yeah, so you're giving a custom service for people. Is that correct? Yeah,
I am.
Okay.
Yes, I've mapped it all out. And so it really came down to what do care partners need to understand? If they're overwhelmed and exhausted because they're managing the day-to-day, right? Because they had to pick up where their person couldn't do certain things.
Sure.
They had to pick those up. So first we help them build a system so that it's sustainable, so that they can take a break, so they can start sleeping better at night and not be so worried. And then we help them understand about aphasia and communication techniques and how do you rebuild communication and connection with your person. Because depending on how long it's been, if I can get somebody in the program sooner, like after rehab ends, it's easier to not have those bad habits to break. The distance increases between the couples. I work primarily with spouses, but that distance increases the further away you are from the onset of aphasia. So there's more work to be done in there. There's more burnout that has to be addressed.
Right. So get to that point as quickly as possible, basically.
Absolutely. That's the system-wide change that I really want to see happen, not only in the U.S., but everywhere else.
Oh, sure.
So how can we partner to give quality of life, not just rehab, but focus on what comes next? How do we move forward? Not, here's your discharge packet, see ya.
Because that's how it works.
That is how it works. And it's unfortunate because I've been, as a speech pathologist, I've worked the last 14 years in the chronic aphasia space. And that's very different from in the rehab space, which I have done for the other 15 years of my career. Right. So these last 14 years, when the care partners come on and saying, I would love to do these strategies, but I'm exhausted or I don't know how to apply them. And when you only get a certain amount of time to work with somebody in a session, you're trying to focus on the person with aphasia, but that care partner needs more and more support so that they can learn those strategies to apply.
You have sessions, presumably these are online, are they mainly?
Correct. Yes,
Yeah,
I'm exclusively telepractice.
Okay. So they get hold of you. This is a situation. So do you have a number of sessions with them? Is that how it works? Or
with the care partner?
With the care partner.
I actually have a roadmap, and it's about a 12-month program. Each week is a training plus a live support session.
Right.
And we open that up twice a year. And that's what we are coming up on at the end of April. We're opening the doors, so to speak, to that. And everybody starts at the same place, but they get support week by week, going through it, learning step by step, so that it's not overwhelming.
Just trying to understand the process.
Yeah.
So is it sets of learning each week, a different set of things to do?
Yes.
And they complete that, and then they go to the next week, and so it goes on.
Correct.
Right.
So we release a training every week. It's about a 20-minute training with it's a video, and they get PDF to go with it, and then they come to a live group if they choose to, and then we talk about it.
Okay.
And we problem solve.
As a group rather than...
As a group.
Which is what happens over here with the face-to-face groups. That's the way they seem to work. I first met, when I had my aphasia, I met the group nearest to me. And it's an incredible group because they've all got the same problem for a start.
That's right.
So everybody's at the same level. And basically there's a lot of fun is had. And people enjoy that and look forward to it every week or whatever.
Aphasia shrinks your world, doesn't it? It shrinks it. And then when you get with people who understand, they might be a little ahead of you, they might be behind you, but you all learn and grow together. And that's that community that is so very important to fight isolation.
And obviously some of the caregivers come with it as well. So they become a group within themselves. It must have taken a long time to put that together.
It's been a passion project. I've been actively working on it for 4 years. I've been in a pilot with it for the last 2 years.
Okay.
And we're just winding down on the end of the roadmap. It's in 3 phases. We're starting phase 3 with my pilot program. And now we're ready to welcome new people in to the beginning of it.
So what is your hope in terms of, you're trying to cover as much of the country as you possibly can. Is there a point where you've got too many people to deal with, or have you got somebody to help you as you go along?
When I have that problem, I will sort it out. That's absolutely the problem I want to have. But I will tell you, Jonathan, I do have small but mighty staff that works with me. They're non-clinical, but they help me do everything that I do. Building this program is, like I said, a passion project. But I also have speech pathologists that work with me. So, we have the capacity. We've thought about how do we scale this, and we are ready. When we are ready for those tons of people that want to, we can support them.
I think it's 350,000 in the UK. Do you know how many in the US? No?
I keep hearing a number 2 million.
Yeah, it's 2 million, yeah.
Yeah, and that's just the persons with aphasia. That's not the care partners caring for them. Maybe it's 2 people that are care partners.
Multiply by 2, even more. So the problems, obviously the difference is depending on the person, but it's got things like dealing with bank accounts, dealing with the IRS or whatever it might be. So that somebody has to take that on, don't they?
100%. And most people don't know where to start. Right. Often it's the man who may have been doing the finances and doing those kinds of decisions.
Sure. And
the female spouse has other roles. Right. She may have to now take on those financial responsibilities and not know where to start.
Right.
Or maybe she does have a clue but needs to be very wise.
Yeah.
So not only do we talk about aphasia and communication, we talk about life. I interview people on my show that are elder law attorneys, people who focus in Medicare, which is one of the primary government insurance payers here in the U.S., talking about self-care with life coaches, whatever we work to be comprehensive. How do you set up your emergency system? Do you have your legal documents, your powers of attorney? Who can make decisions for you? Who are you going to call in an emergency? These are things that a stressed, overwhelmed caregiver is not thinking about. They might have that thought in the back of the head, and that might be the thought, I got to set that up. But how do they carve out the time in the day to go figure that out? So that's where we work very hard to give support, education, templates. I'm a big proponent of scripts.
Right.
And what I mean by scripts is, how do you have the conversations? How do you ask the right questions when you go to the doctor's appointment? How do you make sure you have your legal documents? Here's your checklist to take with you to make sure you're thinking about all these things.
It's a frightening thought, isn't it?
It's overwhelming.
Overwhelming, yeah.
Before we get back to the conversation, I wanted to mention a really important update to our website. We know that navigating aphasia isn't just a journey for the person with the diagnosis. It involves a whole network of people. That's why we've launched 2 dedicated areas at tipofmytonguefilm.com. First, there's a new section specifically for professionals, whether you're a speech and language therapist, a medical professional, or a student. It's designed to provide resources and insights to help you support your patients even better. And second, we have a section for carers and families. We know how isolating it can feel when a loved one loses their words. This page is there to offer you support, information, and a reminder that you aren't alone. So if you're listening and you work in the field, or if you're caring for someone with aphasia, please do head over to tipofmytonguefilm.com and click on the Professionals or Carers tabs. And if you have a story to share or a question to ask, you can send us a message directly through the site. We'd love to hear from you.
I put myself in their shoes very often. I've been happily married a very long time. And if something like this were to occur with my own spouse, I know there's a lot that I'm going to have to learn and pick up from. But the converse is also true.
Cook.
He knows how to make a stir fry. He'll survive. Right? But I'd much rather I be the one cooking.
It's fascinating, the thing that you're doing, actually. You're thinking on the right lines for lots of people. And you're helping them do their thinking, not do their thinking for them, but help them to think through what they're doing.
The structure. Because when you've got to guess, that's part of the things that is so exhausting. You're like, oh, should I do this now? Or is this the next priority? For anyone who started an exercise program, you don't want your new exercise coach to give you 3 choices of what you want to do. You go to them so they make the decision and you execute.
Indeed. Yeah.
And so I think of it from that perspective.
Yeah.
So I've taken my own clinical experience and my life experience to create this roadmap. And so that we do have that structure to fall back on. And then we can see where there's gaps or holes and we can fill them.
Changing the subject slightly, we had the last podcast with someone who works for a European network of problems with aphasia. So she speaks many languages. That helps, obviously. So she goes all over Europe, which Europe as a whole is about the same size as America. It's near enough anyway. So she goes across Europe, and they've got, I think it's 6 or 7 countries that are actively involved in getting aphasia known in their country. It's a network. And I was just thinking maybe that's where your network could connect with that network, because then you've got another bunch of people, different languages, but that you can overcome that.
But that's what it is. This has to be a movement. If we want folks with aphasia to live a life beyond aphasia, we got to help them do it. It's not just going to hoping and praying doesn't do it, right? Action and steps forward, and having a community that can support and understands you.
Right, yeah.
So critical.
Unfortunately, aphasia never goes away, does it? You might get better at it, but it's not going to go away, is it?
And isn't that how you have felt it in your own recovery? You still have days that it's more challenging, probably morning versus afternoon, or if you have a cold or other things influence it.
Sometimes there's only so much you can do, and you can't do anymore.
You're done.
You're done. Exactly. You're done for the day.
I think of it as a gas tank. You wake up in the morning, and this is for anybody, but for the person with aphasia, there's different variables that drain that gas quicker.
That's true. Yeah.
And by understanding it, putting something that is abstract, which is aphasia and communication, and making it concrete with the thought of a gas tank like you have in your car, you can only drive so many miles on that gas tank, right? And if you're on the highway versus in the city, you have a little bit of variables, but overall it's predictable. So if you know that crowds drain you and background noise drains you, those things can be controlled for, but the care partner can't control for that if they don't understand it all.
Moving on, I've got a new website. We've got a new website. And this is pertinent to what we're talking about. And what we want to do is get people to be, if you're a caregiver or you're a professional, to go to the website and find out what they might need to do what they're going to do. It's early days, but we're going to ask people to join in and give their experiences by video or whatever it might be to put onto the website, so it becomes a resource. A resource for, obviously, the UK to begin with. But this is something, I'm just thinking, there's something that we can possibly pass over to you, and maybe if you've got things we can give us and we can give you.
We go both ways.
Sounds like a perfect marriage.
Exactly. Let's do this for the aphasia community.
Yeah.
And that's part of why I love the opportunity to speak with hosts such as yourself. Yeah. Plus, you've got the real life experience of aphasia.
Yeah, that helps. I think for our podcast, it helped because
absolutely.
I know I'm not just hosting something. I've actually lived it as well, which is a different
100%.
It's a different thing, isn't it, altogether? So you have a podcast as well, is that right?
I do. It's Life Beyond Aphasia.
So that's going to feed into what you've been talking about earlier.
So it's on all the podcast platforms and on YouTube at the same time.
And your program, is that on YouTube as well, or do people have to pay for that to get into it?
They have to pay for that to get into it. It's a month by month, and we open the doors twice a year to that. So we're going to be running a 3-day boot camp for carers, for care partners, where we start the process of giving them that breathing room. Right. What that means is getting control over their day-to-day schedule and calendar management and getting some support.
That will get them going.
That will absolutely. Yeah. It's a very intentional, and it leads very nicely into the collective, which is our care partner membership. It sets some of that foundation already because we got to get a breathing room first. Just like any other time you feel stressed, it's hard to process additional information and tasks.
Sure. Yeah.
So we give some structure and breathing room first.
Fantastic. I wish you lots of luck with that.
Thanks.
It'd be incredible. And does anything else you want to talk about?
Oh, I think we could probably be here for a couple more hours. But another time, let's talk about aphasia and your lived experience. But I'd like to point out, because I will be sharing this episode on my channel as well.
Sure. Yeah.
I want to direct people to your film. On the
Okay.
tip of my tongue, film.com is your website.
That's the one. Yeah.
And Jonathan has this lovely film where they've interviewed folks with aphasia so that you understand more lived experience, because everybody's experience is so different.
It's true.
It's a beautiful film. It's so well done.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And I would love to share your film, a link to your film on my website for Care Partners. I think it's wonderful what you've done.
Thank you very much. And your website is?
lifeaphasiaacademy.co is for Care Partners. And I have a separate website for the private practice where I work with survivors with aphasia, dolifespeechpathology.com.
Brilliant. Great to talk to you.
Great to talk to you.
You get on the rest of your day now.
Yes. As you wind up yours.
As I wind up mine, yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Great to see you. Bye-bye. See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
You know, Jonathan and I talk a lot on this podcast about the impact of aphasia. But the conversation doesn't have to end here. If you're a carer, someone who is the voice for a loved one every single day, we've built a space on our website just for you. It's full of resources to help you navigate those tough moments. And for the professionals out there, the therapists and clinicians who are doing the vital work of rehabilitation, we have a dedicated page for you too, with materials you can use in your own practice. The website is tipofmytonguefilm.com. Take a look, explore the new pages, and please send us a message. Tell us what you need or what your experience has been. We're building this community together, and your voice is the most important part of it. Thank you for listening to this On the Tip of My Tongue podcast. We hope you found it helpful and informative. Now, if you want more help and information about strokes and aphasia, please go to stroke.org.uk, say aphasia, that's S-A-Y, aphasia, all one word, .org, or the aphasia page of nhs.uk. That was On the Tip of My Tongue, the podcast dedicated to raising awareness about aphasia. To listen to more episodes, click on Support the Show in the description. This has been a Buffalo Lounge production. Please follow Buffalo Lounge on all the socials.